Hey everyone, it's Nicole with Easy Organized Life, and today I want to talk to you about categories and sinking funds. There are a lot of areas where budgeting can get a little bit in the weeds, and I like to take as many or I like to eliminate as many steps as possible. So one of those things is sinking funds. I actually like to call it future spending. I don't really get the whole sinking funds name, but I digress. That doesn't matter. What I want to talk about is how I don't have several little accounts or several little areas where I keep money for sinking funds. Sinking funds would be things like birthday, Christmas, graduation, car insurance, clothing, hair appointments, things like that. What I do is I have one big savings account where I can earn largest amount of interest while it's all sitting in that account. And then I will pull from that account, but I will categorize on paper and in my Google Sheets spreadsheet differently and separately. What I do every paycheck is I have a spending tracker. Most of the time I will download the spending from my account online and then I will write it out. This helps me actually log in my brain how many things I'm spending on and what I'm spending on, because as you can see, this can get wild and crazy. It's Aldi, Target, Amazon, Aldi, Walmart, Target, the pharmacy, Amazon. And if you just look at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? What is going on here? So what I do is I go ahead and I write that down. I write the amount and then I write the category. When I am looking things up, I will go ahead and go into the Instacart app or the Target app or go to my Amazon account and write down and make notes on what these things were so that I know, okay, well, I spent $18 on bread mix and I'll probably need to do that again in 2 months. So I can start planning ahead. I think that our budget is just ever changing. I'm always adjusting and moving around and taking note and making guesses and seeing how it goes. So what I will do from there is sometimes I will color code and sometimes I won't. Just depends on my mood and my capability at that time. But these are, by the way, this is a FriXion erasable pen, and these are FriXion erasable highlighters. This is the only way that I can budget on paper and not get frustrated. So I will write down all of my spending, whether I pull it off of the computer or I print it out. It just depends on how many days and how many transactions I have. If I only have a couple of transactions, I can write them, I can copy them from the computer. But if it's been a while and there's a high spending period, I will print out the online view of my bank account and then go ahead and write this down. And then I'm going to go ahead and take all of these and move them into categories. So if you see here, I have Aldi, the amount, and then grocery. So I moved it over to groceries. So then I can go ahead and check that off that I moved it over. So then Target is over here and it gets its own area or its own category, because as I've mentioned before, I do not break up our household spending into things like beauty, household, like toilet paper, paper towels, and groceries. I break it up according to what we need to survive and eat that week, and then according to store. So Target gets its own category line, Amazon and Costco get its own category line, and then Aldi and Walmart will go into the same groceries category. I don't know if it makes sense to anyone else, but it does make sense in my brain. Target, we have vitamins, shampoo, and cat litter. That all goes into the same category, even though you could break that up into health and wellness, beauty, and pet. So what I will do is I will go ahead and write those out into these various account or categories. And then this, I wanted to point this out. This is our credit card that we will pay our utilities on. And then at the end of the pay period, we go ahead and pay these off through our bank account. So we're not waiting until the next statement date. We're going ahead and paying those on the actual bill due date. We're just paying it on the credit card first for internet safety, getting the points, and then going ahead and paying that bill. One thing that I will do also, so that when I look at my credit card statement, I can make sure that I'm actually paying each bill properly, is the gas was $36.06 this month. I will make a payment for $36.06. And then I will make a payment for $175.10 to match the water. So when I look at my statement, I can match those payments up to the bill, and I know that I actually paid that. If I went ahead and added this and then made one lump sum, it would be really confusing when I was reconciling the statement to make sure that I actually did pay all of these bills. And I'd rather like see this charge for $36.06 and then see a payment for $36.06. See a charge for $175.10 and then see a payment for $175.10. So some credit cards will allow you to make several small payments. Some will cut you off at like 5. The other thing that I will do is I broke out my husband's birthday. So even though the spending was at Walmart, I broke it out and I didn't put it in the groceries. I put it in a separate category for birthday so that I know. I thought, oh, $200 for sure is fine for a birthday. Well, the outing itself brought it to $175. And I feel like this is a lesson I keep learning every single pay period. Like I just pick numbers out of the air. I'm like, that sounds great. And then I go and actually attend the event, go to Costco, do whatever. And I realize that was not the appropriate number. I need to adjust that for next time. So one day I might actually guess these things properly. This is all coming out of the same account. Even though they're utilities, Target, groceries, birthdays, it's all coming out of the same account, even though we're breaking it out into categories. Every pay period, I pull $20 and put it towards prescriptions. But like, as you can see, this pay period, we spent way more than $20. So that's something that I'm gonna have to see. How is that average working out? There's several pay periods that we don't buy any prescriptions, and then they all seem to kind of come at the same time. Amazon, you could consider this groceries. It's bread mix and oatmeal, but it's coming out of Amazon, so I want to keep that separate. Again, I like categorizing things to the store or location that we're buying things, except for the weekly groceries. Again, I don't know. I don't know why, but it just makes sense in my mind. Love to know how you use the sinking funds categories. Do you prefer like less categories, more categories? I would say it kind of ebbs and flows with how I'm feeling, the time of the year, you know, what's going on in our lives. But I try not to over categorize things and break out them into tiny little things like clothing, shoes, hair care, household like toilet paper, paper towels, because it just starts to feel very overwhelming, especially when you look at the average amount of purchases you're making. And like, this is just 1 week. You can spend a lot of time breaking things out. If I had to take this Target, you know, or the Amazon and then break it out into, well, you know, out of this $42, $11 was for this and $12 was for this. Like, that's what I want to avoid, is breaking out a amount that I spent into even more categories. I hope that this helped. If you are interested in our spending tracker or our category tracker, we have these in the shop. They are part of our budget planner. And I would love to know how you break out things, how you plan for future spending. Do you use the term sinking funds? And I will see you next time. Bye.